Is Bronco here bringing you another video. Excuse me. But today's May 4th, National Star Wars Day. Woohoo! May the 4th be with you. Sorry. When on our National Star Wars Day, I decided to make a list, top 10 list. So when Episode 7 was announced, they announced that they will be doing a spin-off movie based around one character. That character has not been yet revealed, but there's been rumors about which character it is. So I basically made a list of the top 10 people I would like to see get their own standalone film. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to explain it. This video probably won't be that long. Excuse me. But I'm going to read these off. Number 10, I have Anakin Skywalker. Hear me out. I know that he's been in all the prequels and all the original trilogy, and that we know his story, but I want to know that 10-year gap between Episode 1 and Episode 2, when he was still a Padawan under Obi-Wan, what was going on? You know, when he was from the kid, when he first started to become a Padawan, when he was first being trained, up until Episode 2, where he's obviously still a Padawan, but he's much more versatile and he's getting singular missions. I want to know what was going on in that period. I want to see Anakin grow up and what the adventures him and Obi-Wan have in between Episode 1 and 2, because in Episode 2 and 3 it is stated multiple times that Anakin saves Obi-Wan's ass, basically saves him multiple times. So I'd like to see that. I'd like to see the adventures they go on and how Anakin saves Obi-Wan multiple times. I like to see how he grew up from this young kid who was too old to start training into the Padawan learner he is in number 2. Number 9, I have Ahsoka Tano. Most popular from the Clone Wars and Rebels. I want to know what happened in between the Clone Wars and Rebels. She leaves the Jedi Order in the Clone Wars. What did she do? Did she just live in a cave the rest of her life? Did she have some adventures on her own? What's going on? How did she get back into the Rebel? How did she join the rebellion? How did she avoid the Stormtroopers? You know, I want to see this time period in between the Clone Wars and Rebels of what's going on with Ahsoka. Where has she been? What has she been doing? Who does she meet? And, you know, all this other stuff. I think it'd be really cool. Number 8, I have Mace Windu. Not really much is known about Mace Windu. You see him in the prequels. You know he's very powerful. That's about it. Where does he come from? How was he discovered? Who was his master? What kind of adventures did he go on? How did he prove himself? Was he around in the Old Republic days? Or was he not? You know, obviously he doesn't look as old as Yoda, but his age is never specified in the films. So he could have been around in the Old Republic days. We don't know. But I think a Mace Windu movie would be really interesting. Number 7, I have Darth Bane. And if you don't know who Darth Bane is, he's basically the Sith Lord that established the Rule of Two. And the Rule of Two is there's a Jedi, or not a Jedi, I'm sorry. There's a Sith Lord, and then there's a Sith Apprentice. That's the Rule of Two. He established the Rule of Two. He's one of the most powerful Sith Lords ever. And Palpatine takes a lot of influence from Darth Bane. So I think it'd be interesting to see his origins. And his type of Sith rivaled the Old Republic, a time period where Yoda was just starting to become a Jedi. Yoda had been a Jedi for a while in Darth Bane's reign, but he wasn't as wise and as great as a Jedi as he's known to be. Number 6, I have Palpatine, the Emperor. I want to know how he became evil. How was he just born evil? Was he seduced to the dark side? You know, how does Palpatine go from baby Palpatine to the Emperor of the entire universe? I want to see how this takes place. What happens before we meet him in Episode 1? What goes on? How does he get into politics? How does he make up this scheme to rule the Republic and become the Emperor? Where does all this come from? I think that would be very interesting to see his origins, basically. And I'm very interested in that. Number 5, Han Solo. Who does not want a Han Solo standalone film? Where did he come from? Where's he from? How did he meet Chewie? How does he understand Wookiee? I want to see the card games that he played with Lando. I want to see him win in the Millennium Falcon. There's just so much you could go off of, because he's had like 25 to 30 years of life before we meet him in Episode 4. So what has he been doing in that time period? Was he around when the Republic fell? Was he alive? Who knows? I don't know. I want to know all this. I want to know how he met Chewie. I want to know how they got the Great Bond. I want to know the adventures they went on. I want to see the smugglings, his dealings with Jabba before Episode 4 comes around and he meets Luke. Number 4, Yoda. The reason I choose Yoda is because Yoda was born almost towards the beginning of the Old Republic, because he's 900 years old. And he's born very early on. He's born around the time that these massive Sith Lords start to take power, and he goes through some of the darkest times in Star Wars history. And it's just unexplored, because we obviously see him in the prequels and the original trilogy, but his old adventures of him as a young Jedi during this time when there's such evil and horrible Sith, even worse than Palpatine, and it's just unexplored in the films. And I would love to see Yoda's origin of becoming a Jedi and having to face some of these evil and some of the most cruel Sith Lords in the history of Star Wars. I think it'd be very cool. Number 3, I put Obi-Wan. Now, there's a lot of ways you could go. You could go either Obi-Wan's from a child up to how he became a Padawan, or you could go after Obi-Wan in Episode 3. At the end, he takes Luke to his family, and then he stays in Tatooine to watch over Luke. What does he do? Does he just stay hiding the whole time? Does he never come out of his cave? Does he have some other adventures? Does he meet some people? Does he get some connections? Does he take out some Tuskens? What's going on with him? And from the time period in between 3 and 4, what is he doing? Because he's still pretty young at the end of 3 when he gives Luke to his aunt and uncle. So around that time, what's he doing? Is he fighting off stormtroopers? Is he, kind of rebelling against the Empire? Is he staying hidden? What's going on with him? I think that'd be very interesting to find out. Number 2, I have Darth Revan. And if you don't know who Darth Revan is, he is basically the Sith, the innovator of the Siths. Darth Bane gained a lot of his influence and a lot of ideology from Revan. And Palpatine gained his knowledge and idealism from Bane and Revan. Revan was the prototype for what the Sith would become, and Revan is the most evil Sith Lord of all time. But at the same time, there's another storyline where he's good. So you could go both ways. You could go Darth Revan is good, Darth Revan is bad. Which way do you want to go there? Do you want to be the evil, maniacal Sith Lord, or do you want him to be the not so evil, kind of just I don't really know how to word it, kind of in the shadows guy? He's not like a everyday hero, but he's not evil either. So you could go either way with that. And if you did go the evil way, you could have that tie in with Yoda, because he was taking control of the Sith around the same time Yoda was being born, and his reign as Sith Lord coincides with the Old Republic. So it would make a lot of sense. And my number one is the most rumored person to get their own movie, a man I have been a fan of ever since I first watched Star Wars. That is Boba Fett. Boba Fett, the galaxy's greatest bounty hunter. There's so many ways you could go. You could go, well, what happened with Boba in between Episode 2 and 4? Because we obviously don't see him in between that time period when his father dies. And what does he go on to do? What kind of stuff does he get into? And then obviously there's ideas that he survived the Sarlacc pit, that he crawls out. They could pick up from after Episode 6. He crawls out of the Sarlacc pit, and he could go either way, good or bad, because in the story-wise, he has joined up on the good side after crawling out of the Sarlacc pit, and has been a hero in multiple battles. I would personally like to see him crawl out of the Sarlacc and kind of like he'll stick with his bounty hunter roots, but I want to see him lean more towards the good side, just to see what a good Boba Fett would be like. I mean, you could have him lean towards the good side in one part of the movie, but then in the other part of the movie, evil's like, hey, we got more money, and he could go over there. I just really want to see a Boba Fett movie of after the Sarlacc. He crawls out of the Sarlacc. What happens to him? What's going on in between Episode 6 and Episode 7 for Boba Fett if he survived the Sarlacc? And if they're not going to go that route, and they're going to go the route of in between Episode 2 and Episode 5, then how did he go on living his life after his father was murdered? What did he do to retaliate against the Jedi? Obviously, in the Clone Wars, he did go after Mace Windu ineffectively, but at that point, he was still a child. So what would we see from Boba Fett? I think it'd be very interesting. I would be very into a Boba Fett movie. But yeah, that's my list. I'll run through it real quick again. 10, Anakin Skywalker. 9, Ahsoka Tano. 8, Mace Windu. 7, Darth Bane. 6, Palpatine. 5, Han Solo. 4, Yoda. 3, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obi-Wan. 2, Darth Revan. And number 1, Boba Fett. So, yeah, I'm going to throw out a few honorable mentions, too. Lando Calrissian is an honorable mention. Princess Leia is an honorable mention. And some people might find it kind of stupid, but Darth Vader, what the fuck? I don't know. I'm R2-D2. I know people are going to find it weird, but what was going on with R2 before Episode 1? Like, where was he at? Did he have another master? Was he around in the Old Republic days? Who knows? You know? It'd be pretty cool to see. I would love to see it. But once again, these are my 10, so I'd keep R2 as an honorable mention. And of course, my last honorable mention, my last honorable mention goes to, I don't want to say a bad character or a good character, really, because he hasn't been explored too much. But I think IG-88 would be a really cool movie, because we just know he's a ruthless bounty hunter and he's a droid, meaning he has no human capacity at all. He has no human compassion. He has no care for life. So what would that be like? That would be really cool to find out. But once again, like I said, those are just honorable mentions. I gave my 10 list. Hopefully one of these 10 gets made. I don't care which one gets made. I'd even take the honorable mentions getting made. I would really like to see a Darth Revan or Darth Bane. Those were the only two I picked that weren't in the movies, and that's basically because their stories are so amazing. I mean, the Darth Revan one in particular is really good. So yeah, but hopefully, I'm hoping for Boba Fett. That's the most rumored one to happen. Possibly an Obi-Wan. I'd be freaking happy with Obi-Wan. I'd be pleased with Anakin if it goes that same time period. Because, like I said, besides that time period, there's nowhere else to really go, because we know what he's been doing from episode. We know what he did in episode 1. We know what he did in 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. The only time period to really explore is the time in between 1 and 2, because there's a 10-year gap there. But hopefully one of these gets made. I would love to see any of them, and I'm pretty confident one of them will be the standalone movie, and I can't wait. You know, Star Wars is it's gonna be kicking off real soon. It's gonna be really awesome. We got The Force Awakens. First we're gonna have Battlefront, then we're gonna get Force Awakens, then we're gonna get a standalone film. I can't wait. It's gonna be an awesome time with this new trilogy, because so many more things are getting released along with it. So I think that's really cool. But yeah, those are the 10 Star Wars standalone films I would like to be made, and I would like to star in them as well. If you make a Boba Fett standalone film, you need somebody to play Teenage Boba, I'm your guy. Even Teenage Anakin, I'll play Teenage Anakin. I don't care. Jake Lloyd, he obviously doesn't want to play it anymore, so I'll do it. I'll take the reins. I think I can do it. I can pull it off. You know, Anakin got fat in between 1 and 2. He lost some weight. But anyway, those are the 10 characters I'd like to see get their own films, their own spin-off films. So thank you guys for watching this video. Bronco, may the 4th be with you.